Good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and we are here for coffee and conversation. We're glad you could join us this morning. We are going to hear from Kathleen Davenport in just a few minutes about workers' comp. So you may think, oh, I don't want to hear about workers' comp, but Kathleen has lots of positive things to tell you. And besides, it's kind of things you're legally bound to know anyway. So it's a good thing you're here. And what you learned today, pass on to your friends and business cohorts to say, guess what you don't know about workers' comp? Anyway, um, we're glad you could join us. You know who I am. You know who our speaker is going to be. We are on a Zoom call, and I'm sure Kathleen won't mind that if you have questions during her presentation, that you can interrupt her and ask those questions. If you're on Facebook Live, which tends to be our larger audience, you can type those questions in, and Laura will get them answered for you. So, with that being said, who's doing self-introductions? Is that you, Jason?
I can totally do that. So, Gina, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, good morning. Hello, Jason Michael Miller and everyone on the call. I'm Gina from Land of Illusion, and we have, in conjunction with the wonderful Chamber of Commerce in the city of Hamilton, the steak fry coming up on Saturday or on Wednesday the 3rd, Saturday. I don't know where that came from. It's early. Get your tickets now on their website or Middletown Chamber website. It is $40. You get a full steak dinner. They also have chicken and vegetarian options, and you get to go through every single one of our 6 haunts. It's going to be the first run through. The actors are so excited, and that also includes Molson Coors drinks. So they're going to have beer, seltzers, all that good stuff, and it's a fantastic networking event. 350 people were there last year, and we're hoping for more this year. So get your tickets now on Hamilton's website, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you, Gina. Next, we have Sydney.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Sydney Tasky. I am a financial advisor with Edward Jones here in Hamilton. Office is located right off of Northwest Washington Boulevard, across the street from the Hamilton Freshman School. So excited to be here today and learn more about Kathleen's presentation. So thanks for having us.
Thank you, Sydney. Next, we have Trisha.
Good morning. My name is Trisha Porter. I'm with Butler County Grant Link, which is a new collaborative initiative designed to bring grant funds from outside of the community to nonprofits. We have our big kickoff event on Wednesday, September 10th at Community First Solutions, and we look forward to rolling this program out to our nonprofit community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. Next, we have Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Gambrell with Serve City. We serve Butler County's most vulnerable neighbors. On Saturday, October 18th from 5 to 8 p.m., we have our 2025 Serving Our Neighbors fundraising gala. $50 a ticket, corporate sponsorships available as well, and we'd love to have you there.
Thank you, Jeff. Then we have Brenda.
Hello, I'm a realtor with Caldwell Banker, and I'm also the treasurer of Prevention Rocks, a new nonprofit working with prevention for drug and alcohol prevention, misuse. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. Glad to have you all here today.
And after that, Sarah, we're doing introductions. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Sarah Eulenbrock Heath, and I'm not with the chamber yet. I'm just kind of checking it out, seeing what's going on. I'm with You'll See Creative, so I do branding and design for small businesses as well as for job seekers.
Amazing. Thank you for that introduction. Dan, was there anything that you wanted to say before we pass it on? Sorry, I think you were muted.
Said I think Kathleen can introduce yourself and get started.
Awesome. All right, Kathleen, it's all on you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me today. As Dan and Jason mentioned, my name is Kathleen Davenport. I'm a business consultant with Bureau Workers' Compensation. I've been with BWC for 31 years now, so I've seen quite a bit of changes within our organization, and I'm hoping to share some information that you might not be aware of as far as your workers' compensation policy is involved. Most of the time, in my tenure with BWC, I've been a business consultant, so I've worked with a few large employers, but most of the time I spend my time working with different trade associations and chambers and try to help educate employers on workers' compensation. Personally, I have always lived in the greater Hamilton area. I always joke that I grew up in the suburbs of Millville, so the suburbs of Hamilton. I spent my childhood riding the bus into downtown Hamilton with my friends and eating at Elder Beerman's lunch counter and going to Suji Wig and J.C. Penney's back in the day, all of which is left. And then, as many of you know, Hamilton kind of died out for a while and there wasn't much to do. And so it's so exciting to see in the last 10, 15 years the growth that has happened there, to where it's kind of the go-to place where my husband and I, we meet friends for dinner. We bike on the bike path. We start at Rensselaer Forest and go down to Waterworks Park. And, you know, a lot of times we're grabbing lunch there in Hamilton. So it's really great to see Hamilton grow and be the city that it is today and continue to grow. And all of you guys are a part of that growth. So it's all good to see. So what I wanted to spend my time with you today is talking a little bit about workers' compensation and kind of some of the not so well known aspects of workers' comp and workers' comp policy. You know, this is my contact information. I'll have it again, you know, at the last slide. If nothing else that you learned today, learn how to get a hold of me and contact me, whether it's something specific to your policy or something that we cover today. Speaking of what we'll cover today, here are some things that just to cover a little bit of history. I don't want to bore you with the history of workers' compensation, but it kind of is relevant to some of the things that we have to offer. Some fun facts. You might judge me for what my idea is fun after you hear our fun facts. But I want to spend a lot of time talking about the BWC grants that are available, different programs and rebates that you're eligible, and our Division of Safety and Hygiene Services, all of which you have access to. So that's what I hope to cover today. So again, I know history can be boring to some people, and if I start out by saying back in 1911, I don't want to lose you, but back in 1911, obviously this country was very different than what it is today, and there was a pretty significant fire that happened in the state of New York in downtown in Manhattan called the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. And in this particular event, there was 146 individuals killed in this fire. And at that time, I think most of the states realized, once that information got disseminated throughout the country, that there really was a need for workers' comp insurance, because prior to that, individuals would have to sue their employer if they were hurt in the course of their employment. And, you know, back then was very different than it is today. We've become more of a litigious society. So, you know, over the years that the workers' compensation in many, many states began to grow and become what it is today. In Ohio, we're somewhat unique. We're a single line insurance where you have to get your workers' compensation insurance through the state of Ohio. We're monopolistic. And a lot of times the word monopolistic has a negative connotation. But I can assure you, and we'll show you some of the statistics here in a few slides, that we take that very seriously. And the benefit is that we can provide the injured workers the benefits that they deserve if they're hurt in the course of employment. And we're not responsible back to any stakeholders with dividends or anything along those lines. And so the money that we collect and our administrative fee is the money that's used to pay that insurance. So we're not funded out of anything but employer premium. So all of you, if you have at least one or more employees, you should have a BWC workers' comp policy with us. If not, contact me. I'll help you get set up with that. But in Ohio and most states mirror a lot of the similar workers' comp laws. But in Ohio, if you have one or more employees, you're required to have workers' comp insurance for that employee. That workers' comp insurance will pay for medical benefits and time off work for individuals that are hurt in the course of and arising out of employment. That can get into a whole nother rabbit hole that may be saved for another time. But just know that we're here to help injured workers when they're hurt in the course of employment. We have 11-member board that dictates bureau policy. Obviously, there's workers' comp law. In addition to that governs what we do. We have 7 service offices located throughout the state. We used to have one in Hamilton, and now we're down in Springdale. We've consolidated a lot of our offices. When I started 31 years ago, there was a big need to have local service offices in all parts of the state. I think at one time we had 21 because we used to get a lot of foot traffic. People would come in and file claims, and attorneys would come and look at claim files. Employers would come in, look at claim files. And so there was the need. We were on the leading edge of e-business back in the day when we started our website. If you've ever been on our website, it is very, very comprehensive. When we first rolled out our website around the year 2000, we called it Dolphin because we were on the leading edge of e-business. But with that, most of our business is done by our website. Most of employers will take out policies directly on our website. Injured workers will help manage their claims on our website. So we're down to 7 offices. Your local office closest to you is in Springdale, which is where I am. And the other thing that we have, and that's grown over the years, is our Office of Safety Services, our Division of Safety and Hygiene, that offers employers a lot of resources to implement things regarding safety and help prevention of accidents. The cheapest accident that you have will be the one that you prevent. So we'll talk a lot about that. And that is the reason why we as an agency put some resources into helping employers create that safer work environment. BWC is the 5th lowest premium rates in the country. The state of Oregon does a study every other year with as far as comparing workers' compensation rates across the country, including the District of Columbia. We are the 5th lowest. We've stayed in that position the last 2 years. And at one time, we were the 3rd highest, but we've done a lot over 25 years to flip that script a little bit and become the 5th lowest. So when I talk about the word monopolistic and that we're a state agency, we do take premiums very seriously and wanting to make those as low as possible while still maintaining benefits for our injured workers. So that's something that we're very proud of. Over the course of 24 years, the number of claims that have been approved have decreased significantly because they're not happening. I would like to take credit for this number, but I think it goes back to you guys, the employers in the state that are doing things to help implement safe work practices. And so the number of claims across the state has decreased dramatically over the years. We were fortunate enough in the midst of the pandemic and even before that to be able to give employers back $9.2 billion back to Ohio employers, a lot of that since 2019 after the pandemic. One of the reasons we have the ability to do that is we are revenue neutral. We try to predict what we feel our future claims costs will be, and we calculate the rates for employers. And if we have more than we need, that goes back to you guys as employers. And so that is not money we keep. So we've been able to give back that money. But $40 million last year went to our safety grants, and we'll talk about that. This is a good segue to segue into our grants. And one of the things that I really want to you as people watching today to take away some of the grants that you are that are available to you and hopefully that you can take advantage of. So let's get into those grants. When we talk about grants, before I get into the details of some of the grants, talk just briefly about who is eligible, which employers are eligible. So any employer that is a state-funded employer is eligible. What that means is that you pay into the state insurance fund and that you're not self-insured or a state agency. So that is probably most of you on this call. There are about 1,200 larger employers that are self-insured. What it means to be self-insured is that you do not pay premium to BWC. You pay claims directly, you make decisions directly. You still have to follow the Ohio laws and regulations as far as, what is compensable, what is not. There's still an adjudication branch through the Industrial Commission. But for the most part, we have 250,000 employers in the state, and all but 1,200 are state funded. So as long as you're a state funded employer and you pay premiums to BWC, and the rest of that there is just stating that you're in good standing with BWC. Excuse me, that you've paid your premium on time and you don't have any excessive lapses. And so if that's the case, then you're eligible for any of these grants that we're going to talk about. The first grant that I want to talk about is our Safety Intervention Grant. And this is a very, very, very popular grant within BWC. Each year, the funding starts July 1st at the beginning of our fiscal year. And 2 years ago, we ran out of money for this particular grant by February. Last year, we ran out of funding for this grant in November. So when we talk about this, if this is something that you're interested in, we actually did put a little more funding in this year. There's no telling how long this money will be available. So if this is something you're interested in, put that as a priority to get on it right away so you can tap into these funds. I haven't heard that we're getting close to any cap yet, but obviously it's still very early. But this is a 3-to-1 matching grant, 3 of BWC's dollars to the 1 employer dollar, up to a maximum of $40,000 from BWC. Excuse me. So this pays for equipment that will reduce or eliminate injuries associated with a particular task. And I'll give you some examples here in a few minutes. One of the things to note with this grant is that you cannot purchase the grant or purchase the equipment until getting approved for the grant. So that is something important to know. We also do have a list on our website of unapproved purchases. A lot of the personal protective equipment and things that you're required to have anyways are not eligible for this grant. I love to see small employers get this grant because $40,000 piece of equipment, $50,000 piece of equipment, it can be very, very beneficial to small companies. So there's no size limit as far as the company is concerned in looking at this grant. So what are some ideas of some of the things that we paid for in the past? This is a roofing contractor that has a lot of equipment that will help, lift shingles up to the top of a roof. We have a lot of lift assist equipment that has been purchased by this grant. There's a safety gator there. Again, some examples. Here's in this slide a stair climber where this individual is carrying a hot water heater up, flight of steps. Obviously that can be awkward positions, and we've had a lot of injuries in accidents like this. The scissor lifts, so obviously getting equipment and people up instead of climbing ladders, been things that are paid for. In transportation, we've paid for the tarping systems that go over the dump trucks that prevent the debris from falling out. Obviously, if you're up there trying to get that tarp manipulated over the top of that truck, you can see there's a lot of at-risk behaviors that could be associated with this. So having an automated tarping system to make that process easier are things that we paid for in the past. In construction, manhole cover lifts, you think of in the old days how, they used to go in there with their crowbars and trying to get those heavy, heavy, heavy manhole covers up. Those are things that we paid for in the past with this grant. Cable pullers that pull cable through the earth, and then, any type of material handling type of equipment. But your industry, your company, is different. A lot of these might be construction and whatnot, is different for a restaurant and things along those lines. So, we encourage you, and I'll talk about our Division of Safety and Hygiene and the services. We have consultants that can come and help you look at a task and see what things might be available either through our grants or not, to help, eliminate injuries. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But, each one of you have different types of businesses and industries that you might think of something. I wish I had this type of equipment. It would make that process easier. It would help reduce, some of the injuries. Or maybe you have had injuries in a particular task and thinking of ways that you can use this grant to help, purchase equipment. And again, 3-to-1 matching grant up to $40,000. And you're eligible for that every 3 years. So I tell employers all the time, get your first grant now, get your first $40,000 now. So in 3 years, you'll be eligible again to participate and get subsequent grants. So it's a great process that you can take advantage of. If this is something you're interested in, I'll get into a couple of the specialty grants here in a second. Please take advantage of this sooner rather than later.
Kathleen, I have a question.
Yes.
I see like exterior lifts and all that kind of stuff. And I know you can't answer this, 100%, but could an internal lift potentially qualify to keep employees from going up and down steps for storage and that type of thing?
Yeah, so there are, like in a manufacturing type environment, like order picker type things. Or is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, where they're going up and down steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that I don't think anything along those lines is on the moratorium list. So I think that would be something that we would consider. One of the things that I encourage employers to do, and if you're interested, I'll connect you with the proper resource, is talk to our Office of Safety Services, our consultants over there, because they can actually check with some of the grant underwriters before you go through the process, because we don't want you to have to go through all this process for something we knew we were going to deny from the beginning. So, something that's specific like that, I would connect you directly with the consultants that handle that. And they do have the ability to get some feedback from the grant underwriters before you go through the process, because the process is designed to be fairly simple. There are certain things that are on what we call the fast track that we've approved in the past, and we know that they are great tools for employers that, it's more of a fast track. But then, there might be things that are individual to a particular employer's environment that are more unique. And so those are looked at, and again, sometimes those are the most successful interventions because of the fact that they're customized to a particular employer. But certainly something that we would, I think consider. I don't think it is on the unapproved items list. Great question. So those are our general safety intervention grants. We also have firefighter grants, and I didn't see that anybody, at least that is on the Zoom call, were from any of the public entities, but there might be some people on Facebook Live or watching this as a recording. But we do have specific grants that are separate from those safety intervention grants for firefighters that help pay for specific items in regards, the diesel exhaust systems, turnout extractors. So those are the washing machines that they use to clean their turnout gear, hoods with the barrier protection to protect, their neck area, washable structural firefighting gloves, and then now for volunteer departments, will include the payment of the turnout gear. So that's, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because obviously that's something that's pretty specific. This is as well, we have the specific grant for school safety and security. It pays for interventions that are specific, to schools, but you can see in some of the, again, these are targeted grants, but these might be ideas for, some other types of environment that you could use the other safety grants for. With this is a 3-to-1 matching grant, another $40,000. And again, schools are eligible for both grants, but, floor coverings designed to reduce those slip hazards. Slips, trips, and falls are historically the most frequent accidents that happen in workers' compensation. Lightweight lunch tables, motorized bleachers. You can imagine we've had a lot of injuries over the years of custodial staff or teachers pulling out bleachers, hurting their back. Safe food fryers, cutting and slicing equipment, for the cafeteria, floor cleaning equipment. This also goes into security, which is typically not part of the other grant, but you can see there's some other things as far as schools are eligible for with equipment bags and two-way communications related to incident response, and then additional things for security as far as security cameras, et cetera. Again, these wouldn't be paid for unless you're a school, because these are more geared towards security versus safety. Also in schools and HVAC, this system where if schools needed updated improvements and maintenance to their HVAC systems, this kind of was a result of COVID, and this was implemented during the 2020, 2021. What we found at that time was a lot of the HVAC systems in schools were needing improvements and maintenance, and obviously in the height of the pandemic, that was something that was very important. We also will pay for body armor with police officers. We do this through the Attorney General's office. We found when we started this grant that many departments around the state had either no body armor or very outdated body armor, so we implemented that grant. So those were all specialty grants that I thought I would briefly cover, but know that they're out there. The Safety Intervention Grant obviously is the more general grant that related to safety, and many employers have taken advantage of that. Want to switch gears a little bit to another grant that, again, all employers are eligible, but it's a little bit outside of the safety arena, but is our Safety Use Prevention and Recovery Grant. So we have this grant that is available for reimbursement for items associated with your substance use policy. So drug-free workplace policy. We will assist, and this is a reimbursement grant, where the other grants that we talked about before, that was something you needed to get approved prior to purchase. This is a reimbursement grant, so this would be given after you've had this done. But from a safety standpoint or from a workers' comp standpoint, substance use obviously impacts claims. People coming to work under the influence have more frequent accidents. Sometimes they injure other people, and a lot of times their injuries are more severe. So this is an incentive for employers to really ramp up your drug-free workplace program, and we will reimburse for 4 things under this grant. The first thing is policy development. We want you to have a robust policy. An employer's drug-free policy is kind of the cornerstone of their program. It talks about the who, what, when, where, why, how we drug test. This is something I think is very important. With, almost 2 years ago, marijuana laws changed in Ohio. As many of you are familiar with that legislative change, you know that still as an employer, you can decide if you want to continue to test for marijuana, if you do not want to test for marijuana. That is something that you have a right to decide as an employer. Many employers have not had their policy reviewed or updated since that. This is a great opportunity to utilize this fund. It's up to $5,000 each year that an employer can use however they see fit to do any of these activities. So we encourage you to use your legal counsel to have your policy either developed if you don't have a robust one, or update your policy. And you can do that every year. You can use a policy developer or your legal counsel. So that is, again, I think, very timely information. Employers probably need to look at their policies now and make some decisions. And any good policy developer or legal counsel will walk you through the things that you need to consider so you can make the best decisions as a business how you want to proceed with your drug-free policy. We're not dictating how you proceed, just the fact that you work with that legal counsel or policy developer to implement a policy that fits the need of your company. The other thing we will reimburse for
Do we
is
have the tax ID number?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Tiffany,
Sorry,
do you have a question?
Sorry, I was accidentally unmuted.
Oh, you're fine. That's fine. The other thing that we will pay for is supervisor training and employee education. Supervisors have a specific role in a drug-free workplace program. They need to be trained on how to recognize somebody they feel is under the influence. How do you document that? How do you approach somebody? How do you get them to a testing site to make sure or get their actual drug test done? Many supervisors are promoted up through the ranks and they don't have those skills. So we want you to use a substance abuse professional to help train your supervisors. Also, employee education. Does your employees know what your drug-free policy states? Do they know the effects of drugs and alcohol on the workplace? We will pay for a substance abuse professional to come in and do those two types of training. We also, some environments will opt to use a train the trainer, where somebody within the organization will learn how to do that training and then they go out and do it. Again, that is the substance abuse professional is the key to that, because they are the ones that understand this. They know the trends that are in the community, all of that. So we want you to use somebody that is professional. And the benefit of that is probably somebody that they're not used to receiving training from. So maybe it sticks with them a little bit more. I find in working with some of the employers I work with, the same trainers they use, the safety manager maybe does their lockout tag out and their HAZCOM and all of that training. This is somebody different. So they hopefully are getting more out of that training than some of their other training. We will pay for that. The next two, we will pay for if you have a second chance policy, meaning that you have some language in your policy that does not include that you will immediately terminate. Some employers opt to do that. But if you do have that second chance language that in some cases, in many cases, that you'll offer them a second chance, we will actually reimburse for the actual drug testing. And that's either pre-employment, new hire, post-accident, reasonable suspicion, random, any type of drug testing that you do, we'll reimburse you for that. And then also we'll reimburse for a substance use assessment, meaning if they do test positive, then they go to an assessment by a substance abuse professional to try to figure out, is this a one-time incident? Is this more of a long-term issue, and help, get that individual some treatment that they need. We will actually pay for that initial assessment if the employer has paid for that upfront. So all of these you would pay for upfront, you would request reimbursement. Again, we try to make the process as simple as possible. For all of these, we need you apply for the program, apply for the reimbursement, but you supply vendor invoice and proof of payment. And then for the actual supervisor training in employee education, we look for sign-in sheets and proof of attendance of some sort, and also a curriculum to make sure that it is paying for that type of training. So again, this is something I think every employer can tap into. The other grant that we have that I think every employer should tap into is our transitional work grants. We find that bringing people back to work, light duty, modified duty, transitional duty, whatever you call it, is very beneficial. We'll pay 100% of a program that you use a transitional work developer to implement. They'll help you do a transitional work policy. They'll help you with job analysis. What I love about the job analysis is they'll come out to your place of employment. They'll look at the different jobs that you have, and it's usually either a physical therapist or an occupational therapist that will document the physical requirements of the job. So how often does that person sit, stand, squat, reach above their head, all of those physical requirements of the job. So that serves two purposes. If somebody's injured, you have the physical requirements of the job. It is written by those occupational therapists, the physical therapists. The doctors understand that terminology. They can look at that job and say, well, you can do all of these tasks, but I do not want you to do these. They also can help you develop a bank of job tasks that you can use for those transitional duties. So maybe they can do 80% of the job and of their normal job, and then you just supplement 20% of their jobs with these other tasks that have already been kind of predetermined. So it helps with that transitional work, bringing people back to work. It also provides for supervisor training and employee education regarding the transitional work. So again, the other stuff we talked about is more focused on safety, so prevention of accidents. This is after the accidents happen. What are ways you can control your cost, the cost of that claim after that has happened? So now I'm going to take a minute. I know we talked about a lot of good information, talked about grants, which is always a very popular topic with us. Anybody have any questions at this point that they want to ask regarding the grants?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Just one quick question with the transitional part, the last piece. I noticed that it said it started at 11 employees. So I'm assuming the ranges start at 11. So are the smaller businesses, it wouldn't apply like for most of those grants?
Great question. So we do have staff internally that can help an employer that has 1 to 10 employees. So we do have, it's not paid through out of a grant because we're not paying an outside vendor to do it, but we do have disability case managers that can certainly help smaller employers implement that as well. Great question.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So let me focus a little bit on some other programs and opportunities that you can take advantage of. The first one I want to talk about is group experience rating and group retrospective rating. This might be something you're also familiar with. I know the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce sponsors groups in both of these areas. The group experience rating is a program that pools a lot of the smaller employers together to be able to offer a discount. It's kind of a volume discount, just like some of the other insurances. The maximum discount in this particular program is 53%. Employers can get a 53% discount. Greater Hamilton Chamber, again, sponsors a group through a third-party administrator. I know you can contact them if you're interested in their particular group. There are other associations, trade associations that sponsor a group. This is a very popular program, particularly for small employers, especially if you have no claims. They look at your past claims history to determine your eligibility. The other program, which also the Hamilton Chamber sponsors, a group retrospective program, and this program operates a little bit differently. Let me try to show by example. Let's say all of us on this call are members of the Greater Hamilton's group retrospective rating. And as a group, we all pay $10 million worth of premium. If you add up all of our premiums together, all of us pay $10 million worth of premium. Then we pay that today in this year. We will take a snapshot next year and for the next 3 years to see the claims that our group generated. So let's say we paid $10 million worth of premium, but we only generated $9 million worth of claims. That $1 million we have to divide up among all of us. The way that that's done, if I paid 10% of the group premium, I get 10% of that $1 million back, and that's paid directly to the employer. So this is looking at future performance, where the group experience rating is looking at the past experience. So again, both of these are great programs that you could look into, and through the BWC certified sponsor. And as I mentioned before, the Greater Hamilton Chamber is one of the certified sponsors. These two programs I'll just briefly mention. There are individual retro and the deductible program. The concept of these two programs are the same. The mechanics are a little bit different, but I think most of us understand the deductible. I have 3 boys. They're getting older now, so I'm not as worried about it as I used to be, but I have car insurance, and we used to have a very high deductible because I wanted the lower upfront premium. But the risk I ran with a higher deductible is they can get into car accidents, and then I have to pay the deductible with each accident. So this is similar concept where you can get a deductible, whether it's through the individual retro program or our deductible anywhere from $500 to $200,000, and we would pay and then bill you in the deductible for each claim up to that deductible level. So the benefit of that is you can get some upfront lower premiums, but the risk is that you pay out more in claims costs because you have a lot of claims. So just some opportunities out there. This other one I really wanted to highlight as well is our Safety Council program. I know Dan and the Hamilton Chamber have recently partnered with the Greater Hamilton Safety Council, which is a separate organization, but they are a safety council that provides this benefit. This is the employers that participate and that attend at least 10 meetings can get a 3% premium rebate up to $5,000 to attend those meetings. So this is a great way to get some money back on your premium, but probably more important is these 10 meetings that you will attend, is that they will provide safety updates, and they're all over the board as far as the topics. Sometimes they are like an OSHA update, or maybe how to control your workers' compensation premiums. Maybe they bring somebody in that's specific about lockout tagout, or any type of behavioral-based safety. That's something that's very popular. But you get a chance to network with other safety professionals or other HR professionals, other business owners in these safety council meetings, and share best practices. The Greater Hamilton meets up there on Erie Avenue across from the fire station up there, and they meet once a month. They have a very good safety council. There's also one in Middletown, one in Fairfield, and one in northern Cincinnati. They all have different days and times that they meet. But this might be something you'll be interested in, and start working with the safety council and be able to get some money back on your premium. Another program that we're implementing with the group sponsors that kind of connects with the safety council program, we just started this program this year. It is if you do the safety council program and enroll with a sponsor and do additional 6 hours of safety training, you can get another 5% up to $25,000. And there's some programs, if you participate, you're not eligible. But this is a program I think you'll hear about more in the future as a potential other option as far as those group programs. Better You, Better Ohio is a free wellness program that we have for small employers. I think you'll find that a lot of the bigger employers already have pretty robust wellness programs that they offer their employees. This is a totally free program if you have 250 or fewer Ohio employees and don't already have a wellness program in place. Your employees would be eligible for this program. They can get up to $225 back. They get them through gift cards. The gift cards are, can be very specific. They can opt for a Nike gift card or a spa gift card, but they also have MasterCards that they can receive their $225 back. But they complete a health risk assessment, which is that online survey that asks questions about their health to determine risk factors, and then also biometric screening, work with Quest Diagnostics to do the biometric screening, the typical height, weight, blood pressure, waist measurement, and then things like A1C and cholesterol. All of that is paid for out of the program. They'll also get that biometric screening. So the employer, they don't have anything that they have to do as far as paperwork, just communicating this to their employees. They can be involved if they want, but there are specific industries that you have to be in to qualify. I think, most of the employers here will fit into one of these categories. If you're not sure, reach out to me. We try to make this industries as liberally construed as possible to get as many people participating, because wellness does impact those workers' compensation. So the basic incentive, if they just do that health risk assessment, that biometric screening that we talked about, they can get up to $75 in the gift cards. If they go to their doctor to do that biometric screening, they can get another $50. That encourages that employee to be talking to their doctor about anything that might have come up in the biometric screening or health risk assessment. There's other ways to get the other $100, $50 by completing some of the physical activity challenges or mental health check-ins, and another $50 by doing either personal or group coaching calls. So depending on the results of your biometric screening health risk assessment, you'll be invited to either a virtual or personal coaching calls. And those personal coaching calls are very specific to whatever the issue is. If the individual is pre-diabetic, it could be a nurse that focuses on that. Maybe it's weight management or stress management. So those coaches are picked based on the results of biometric screening if the individual qualifies for that. So again, $225 back directly to your employees. If you meet some of those requirements, I'd be happy again to help with any of that. So just to wrap it up in the next couple minutes, I did want to touch base with our Office of Safety Services. I mentioned them several times, in the course of this presentation. Everything that our Office of Safety and Services does, my division and our Office of Safety Services, that's all paid for out of your premium. There's no additional cost to you for any of these things that we talk about. You pay us our premium, and that's what the cost associated to you. But so there's no cost associated. Our Office of Safety Services are consultative in nature. They don't report to OSHA. They don't fine or penalize anybody, but they're really working with employers. They love working with those smaller employers that may need some of that extra expertise in the safety arena. So some of the things that they can do is hazard assessments. If you have a particular task you want them to look at to see ways you can make that safer, or maybe engineer out the hazard. They'll look at your safety programs, your written programs. They'll help provide training to your staff on individual things, and they'll work with your safety team. If you're large enough to have a safety team, they can help and facilitate some of those meetings. Trying to get the right people on the safety teams is important. Sometimes it's usually the safety director, but then, who else do you need on that team? Safety teams, especially in those middle-sized organizations, can really help an employer. We have some specific consultants that will do industrial hygiene work. What does that mean? Air and noise sampling, ventilation. They are industrial hygienists. They'll focus on that. They can come into your facility and monitor the noise, take air sampling, send it off to labs for analysis. All of that they can assist with. Again, all part of your premium. If you paid for an outside consultant to come in and do that, that could cost you a lot of money. But if there's something in your facility that smells odd and you're just wondering what that issue is, they can help with that. Or maybe you have a process that's very loud. You need that hearing protection for your employees. They can help you analyze all of that. So industrial hygienists. We have ergonomic services. So we have ergonomists that can come out, help with that material handling, help with workstation design, to help things with prevent some of the repetitive motion. I have the ergonomists come and look at my workstation. We are fortunate enough to have the sit-stand workstations, but is my monitors in the right place? Is my computer, does it need to be raised a little bit? So and when they're in our office, I usually have them on occasion, check my workstation to see if there's things that I can put closer to my phone is close in proximity, so I'm not reaching to answer the phone. But they can do that in a clerical setting, but they can do that in the industrial setting as well. We have an extensive library services that all of you are eligible to look at. If you have a question that you want some research done, you can ask our librarians. They'll be able to go and research. They have access to books and journals, magazines, articles, all of that, and can help find information on a particular subject that you might need assistance on. We have library services for videos, with video streaming. We just got rid of all of our CDs, and now it's all streaming, but you can borrow videos. If you're trying to do a safety training and you want a video on restaurant safety or something like that you can borrow those videos and use those for your training. So a lot of services that you're eligible through our library services as well. Lots of information. We've allowed some time for questions, but again, these are all opportunities that are paid for out of your premium. And I encourage you to really take advantage of them, look at them, and find ways that you can maximize what you pay to us. And again, for some of you, some of these grants, the $40,000, that in many cases is probably more than your premium. So I encourage you to really take advantage and look at some of these offerings. Any questions from the group?
Kathleen, I'm looking in the Zoom chat. I'm not seeing anything right now. Laura, are you able to see anything on the Facebook chat?
Not currently any extra questions there.
Okay. Now, Kathleen, I do have an affirmation. I just want to say this was so thorough and so well thought out to make kind of us understand a little bit more. So where can people find you to maybe book a session with you or to get more information from you?
Sure, absolutely. So my contact information is here on the slide. I am a business consultant. I'd be happy to work with you. We also have employer service specialists that will work with employers, and some of the stuff that we didn't cover as far as like more specifically with the programs and making projections, all of that. There's services available. Our website is www.bwc.ohio.gov. If you go onto that website, a lot of that information is there, but there's so much information, I think, at times on our website, it may be hard to navigate. I'm happy to work with any of you to find, if you're looking for specific information. Also, on that website, you can manage your policy. You can see a My Policy page, sign up with a username and password and get onto that website to do things like pay your premium or look to see when your next payment is due, any of that e-transactions that we do as well. And on that My Policy page is contact information for your specific account representative that can help you specifically. But I'm always happy to help as well if it is not already assigned to me, or at least get you connected with the right individuals.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. So, Kathleen, afterwards, would you mind if I share this presentation with everyone that's on the call today?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, and I think I have that in my email. So I'll send that to them.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for joining today's Coffee and Conversation. Kathleen, I don't know if you realize, but I think we started off with like 6 and ended up with 12 people on the call.
Great.
So that was awesome. You
Yes.
guys spreading good information. For those that want to keep in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, later today we have a Chamber Connect that's going to be at the Chamber of Commerce, 201 Dayton Street, Hamilton, Ohio. Great way to understand everything that our chamber does. And we do that quarterly. So you get to meet the team, understand chamber benefits, and there's a little bit of a networking component as well. On Wednesday, August 27th, we're having a free AI workshop focused on restaurants, bars, and hospitality. We are doing this in partnership with the Butler County Education Service Center. So again, that's August 27th, tomorrow. That's going to be at the Chamber of Commerce as well. We also have Cindy Keidel, business coach, talking about build a smarter, more profitable business. That is a multi-part series starting tomorrow. You can go to our website, hamilton-ohio.com, to register for all of these events. And we have a steak fry coming up at Land of Illusion in Middletown in partnership with the Middletown Chamber. Steak Fry is going to be September 3rd. Great networking event, as Gina was talking about earlier. It is when they release and present their haunt houses for the season. Lots of great food, Molson Coors beverages. Again, head to our website, hamilton-ohio.com. And our next Coffee and Conversation will be with Tracy Shepard, talking about inclusive workspaces and incentives for your company. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one. Thanks.